Okay, the other part of exponents is when we have negative exponents. So we're going to deal with the other part of exponent rules. This is for Tuesday. So negative exponents. If I have something like 3 to the negative 5, this really means that I have 3 to the 0 over 3 to the 5. Because 0 minus 5 gives me negative 5. So I want you to think of that for a second, and then I'm going to talk about what 3 to the 0 means. Anything to the power of 0 means that you had something like 3 over 3. These don't have an exponent, so the exponent is 1, and 1 minus 1 is going to be 0. We know when we do 3 divided by 3, it equals 1. We know that if we do 4 divided by 4, it equals 1. 5 divided by 5 equals 1. So anything divided by itself equals 1, which means anything to the power of 0 equals 1, equals the actual number 1. Okay, so that's one of the main things that we need to have here. So going back up to what I did at the start, if 3 to the power of 0 is 1, that means that I have 1 over 3 to the 5th. Which means if I have a negative exponent, I'm going to put it on the bottom of a fraction. Unless, of course, it started on the bottom of a fraction. If it starts on the bottom of a fraction, that means that it needs to go to the top and get a positive exponent. So this is going to become 3 squared times x. There's nothing left on the denominator of the fraction, so the denominator of the fraction is just 1, which I don't need to write. So when we have something like this, this is a b. I didn't want a y. Only the parts with the negative exponents are going to move. So this has a negative exponent, and this has a negative exponent, which means it's going to move. The one with the negative exponent is going to move to the bottom and become a positive exponent. The one that's on the bottom with the negative exponent is going to go to the top and get a positive exponent. And nothing else moves. So that's how we're doing these with negative exponents. When we have something like I want to make real sure that you guys understand that a negative number is not the same thing as a negative exponent. This negative 8 has an exponent of positive 4, so the negative 8 is not going to move. Only the things with negative exponents are going to move. Everything else stays the same. This is going to come to the bottom and get a positive exponent. This is going to come to the bottom and get a positive exponent. This is going to come to the top and get a positive exponent. So that's all that we're doing with these. We're making negative exponents positive by moving them around. And then the second thing is that anything with a positive exponent, anything with an exponent of 0 equals 1. Okay? Don't forget that if something is written without an exponent, it has an exponent of 1. So the x is squared, but the 3 is not. The 3 has an exponent of 1. So we need to remember that anything without an exponent has an exponent of 1. Why do I say that? Because sometimes we'll have stuff like this, and we want to move both the 3 and the x. But the 3 has an exponent of 1, which is positive, so it doesn't move. Only the x is going to move. Hope that makes sense.